Well, what I have here is a Silver Max Abu Garcia, and it's on a Vengeance rod, 24-ton graphite. I've got 12-pound fluorocarbon line on this reel. Works really well. It is a 7-foot medium heavy. You can use a 1/4 to 1 ounce lure, 12 to 20-pound line. And the reason why I'm not using braid is because I can cast the this little lighter line on there. Not perfect, but I can do it. Well, I had a viewer asked me if I would do a video in depth on how to cast these. Well, the best that I can do is show you here. All right, you see where I got the brake set? I've got the brake set about 1/4 of the way up. And what I did was I took this lure here, this fish. Well, just have to give me a second. I don't have any way to mount the camera. Just have to hold it. All right, what I have here is this little guy on there. And I like to use these for bass fishing, and they work pretty good. Let me get him to stop swinging. Make everybody sick. Right there he is. He's about 3/4 of an ounce. He might be an ounce. Yeah, he's probably an ounce. So what you do is you hold the line up, and taking the brake off is not going to change what I'm doing here because I tried it. What you do is you hit this release button, and then you watch him fall. He doesn't fall all that fast. A little faster than what the other videos that I show him falling are. But you just set it up and just let it fall and watch it hit the ground. And then if it hits the ground and the line comes off the spool, then you've got your tension knob too loose. Tighten up that tension knob right there at your crank until when it falls with the brake off, your line won't keep going around. Okay. Now, I'm going to try to cast this for you while I'm holding my phone. And if you drive, it's just like pulling up to a red light. You see cars stopped at a distance, and what you want to do is you don't want to ride your brakes hard. You don't want to hit them. You do the same thing with these kind of reels as what you do with your brakes. You just feather them until you get up to the point where you're getting ready to stop, and that's the same thing with these hitting the water. When you draw back, and I'll show you right here. All right. Right here is my pole. Now I'll go like that right there. Feather it, and then when it gets out there and gets ready to hit the ground, you stop it. Well, right here's what my line looks like after I got done. Okay, there's no bird's nest. You can see it pulling off there real slow. So let me reel this in. Put this in between here. See it? Well, if I can get it to reel in, it's always easier when somebody's helping you do these videos. And the 6-to-4 gear ratio on this thing is 6-4 to 1. Each crank is probably about each full turn reels that lure in approximately 3 feet or so. And if you count your turns whenever you cast it out there to get it back to the point where you started, you'll know how many feet you're casting it. And I'm just barely doing this, and I'm getting about 105 feet. All right. See it right here. All right, he's hanging there. I'm going to show you again. He goes out there, and I'm not flipping this thing hard at all. I'm not whipping it at all. All I'm doing is just casting easy. I'm not putting any force into it. I'm not whipping my wrist out there real hard. I'm not doing any of that. I'm not trying to cast this thing 200 feet. And what I'm doing is casting that thing out there over 100 feet. And that's your average distance for casting about anywhere you're fishing. If you're on a boat, there's no need to cast that far because you can cast easy and hit your release. And you can just let your line pull out. If you got a depth finder like we use when we go, then you don't have to worry about getting your line hung up on stuff, you know how deep the water is under you. So, I mean, that's really all I know to do. This is what I've done. I've just learned that if you set the brake up, don't loosen that tension knob up a great deal, and adjust it to where it follows the same speed with any lure that you put on there, regardless of the weight. If it's a 1/4 ounce, let it fall to that point, at that speed, because what happens is when you've got the tension knob loose and you've got something heavy on there, it's going to pull that line off of there so fast with the weight of that lure, it's going to make that thing take off spinning. Well, that's what the brake's for, and your thumb, but it doesn't always work that way. But you do got to make sure that that brake is set, and I'll show you again. Get the brake set right there, about a 1/4 of the way up, and I use my thumb to feather it whenever I'm getting ready to hit the water, or while it's in the air. And if it's windy, you got to keep your thumb on it a little bit better. Try not to cast into the wind. If it's windy, don't cast into the wind, because the line is pulling off, and then it stops, and the thing here, the spool is still turning. And, if the spool's still turning at that point until the wind started slowing your lure down, the line's still trying to come off the spool. And it's going to cause you to backlash big time, because that lure is not going through the wind and pulling the line off that's coming off of your spool. So you definitely got to make sure that you're not casting into the wind. And if you do cast into the wind, try not to cast real far, and try to hold your pole down low and cast lower to the ground. And then keep your thumb on it. That's the key. A lot of people don't remember. Keep your thumb on the line when it's coming off. Okay? You've got to keep your thumb. Don't press hard, because it won't come off. Just keep your thumb on the line coming off. Just feather it. I mean, all you're doing is taking your thumb. When you feel that line coming off, you're just touching it. Just kind of like you'd rub your thumb across your finger. It's like, just kind of like that right there. You got a little piece of stuff on your thumb and you're trying to get it off. You're not rubbing hard. That's the way you do it. That's coming off there. You just, when you feel it, keep your thumb barely sitting on it. I mean, just barely. That's all you got to do. And that line, when you feel the line start to actually build up under your thumb, the second you feel that, push on it just a little bit. And don't let it do that anymore. I'll cast it one more time. So see, now the wind's blowing. You can see right here the wind's blowing. So I'll try to cast into the wind anyway and show you. See, it was trying to take it everywhere. But I mean, that's all I can tell you. I hope that this helps. Like I said, I had a viewer request that I do an in-depth on the Silver Max, and I've got a Hank Parker edition too. If you want to see it, I can try to do a video on it too. But I'm not an expert at this. I just got out here and I practiced, and I'm willing to try to help anybody the best that I can. I hope it does help. So you all take care, and I'll catch you later.